Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. Old Captain Paul here again, and today I've got my designer hat on because I'm going to be showing you how to create the interiors of colour by numbers books using free software. Now these are great additions to your KDP library and are good money makers. Okay, now my name's Paul Marles and I do videos on how to make it, keep it and grow it, and that's your money I'm talking about. And if you like videos like that, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and also smash that notification bell to receive notifications for when I produce more videos like this. And if you do like it, give it a thumbs up, it's very much appreciated. So, colour by numbers books using free software. Now first of all, let's just go through looking at Amazon what colour by numbers books are. These are basically, I'll click on this one, books where children and adults can colour in pages using numbers. So there's a nice simple illustration, and in each item or in each box you've got a series of numbers, and each number corresponds to a colour. So children, adults can colour these in according to the guide and end up with a nice diagram. Now these do sell well. If we look at the bestsellers ranks, wait for them to load, but they do sell well. Here we go, 1920, 1674, all great bestsellers ranks. And wait for these to load. Here we go, 5,000, 3,000, 27,000, 12,000. So these are good money makers and a good niche to get into. Colour by numbers, yep, it's got a high competition, so you'll need to niche down a bit, do your keyword research to get those keywords to make your books found. Another good thing about these is if you're already doing colouring books, it would be really easy to convert your illustrations that you've used in your colouring book to convert them to colour by numbers. So you've got another book that you can create straight away. You can also add these into activity books for kids and adults. Now I'm going to be using a free software, and this is called Gravit. Now this is a browser based software. I've used it, it's fast, surprisingly fast. When you sign up, you've got to sign up to use the software. You get a free 15-day trial of the Pro version. If after the 15 days you don't want to pay, then you can use the standard version. Now the only difference, or the main difference that differences that I could see between the free version and the Pro version is in the Pro version you've got unlimited cloud storage, and you can export PDFs up to 300 dots per inch, which is important if you decide to use this software to do your cover designs on. Also, it gives you the option to work offline. But I've just signed up for the free 15-day trial. I've given myself a crash course in how to use it. So hopefully things will go smoothly, and I'll show you using this software right now how to create a simple interior for colour by numbers. So we've opened up the browser to the software, and we're going to choose the paper size, and this is going to be an 8.5 times 11, so we'll just click on that. We've got our paper here. So we need to get our illustration. Now if you've watched my previous video on doing the grid copy interiors for books, and you can find the link above, you'll know that I like Vecteezy to get my vector diagrams. A huge selection, and if we go to the page where I did the search for dogs, you've got the choice of these Pro pictures if you decide to sign up and pay, or you've got all these others that are free for you to download and use in your commercial projects. So I'm going to use the same illustrations that I used in the previous video on doing the grid copy books. So clicked on download, already done that. You download a zip file, open it up, and here we've got the .eps file and the .svg file. So we'll go to Gravit Designer. Now, one thing about Gravit Designer, it's not just a vector editing software. You can also edit images and photographs in it too. So we're on our page and we're just going to drag across the .svg file. Okay, now we're going to do this wolf again. So I'm just going to click on it or just highlight it, copy and paste, and then I'm just going to drag it out of the way. Now we just want this on its own, so we're going to need to delete these. But you see when we highlight that, it puts a bounding box around everything because these are all grouped together. So we need to ungroup them. So we press Shift, Command, G. And that's on a Mac keyboard. I'm not sure what it is on a Windows. It may well be Shift, Control, G. So that will ungroup those. So now we can just do that again. So now we can just highlight the dogs that we don't want, delete, and that's left with our face. So we're just going to put a bounding box around that, press Shift and drag on the corner to enlarge the image. Just going to reduce the size of that slightly, bring it down a bit. Now what I like about this is it will tell you when things are in the center, which I really like, and that's good for when we come to the later bits. So I'm just going to move this down a bit and put it in the center. Okay, so now we've got our diagram here, and we've got all these different, with a vector diagram, you've got all these different layers, different paths, and now we need to outline all of those. So we're just going to highlight the whole thing, go over to borders on the right hand side, click on the color box. Now by default it says transparent, which is a bit strange, but anyway, we're going to go to click on color fill, and it gives an option to change the colors of these borders. So we want black. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight those again. Now we want the borders to be a bit thicker, so we're going to change the point size to 3 and enter. Okay, so now we've got all these elements all outlined, and so we need to get rid of the colors. But before we do that, we're going to need a copy of this image to use as our color guide later on. So I'll just highlight everything or put a bounding box around everything, press Control C, then V to basically copy and paste. Just going to drag that away, press Shift on the corner, reduce the size, and we're just going to bring this just down to the corner out of the way here. Okay, so now we're just going to drag over our image again, and we want to get rid of all these colors, so we want to change the fills to white. So over in the right hand side, click on fills, click on the white box, boom, there we go. We've got our image all ready to color in. So now we need to add the numbers, so we press T for the text box. I'm just going to click there and put in number 1. So I'm just going to, and then I'm going to click outside. Okay, so we've got a bounding box around that number, and we're going to change first of all the position. So I want this around about the middle, and this is what I like about Gravit, it sets everything out nicely, so with all these measurements, so we can get something really in the middle. So that's a feature I like. Okay, so we've got our number there. I'm just going to just enlarge our picture slightly so we can work a bit easier. So I'm going to change the color because this is black at the moment. I'm just going to change it to something just a little bit lighter. That's probably a bit too light. There we go. And so I'd use that using these swatches over on the right hand side. So this is going to correspond, number 1 is going to correspond to black. So reduce the size, pressing Command minus, and we're going to look at all these areas that are black and put the number 1 in. So again, it's going to increase in size now. So a simple way to do this is pressing down on the Alt key and then left clicking and then just dragging over to the area where you want to put your number 1, and it drags over a copy. So we've got that there in the eye. all around the eye, and then we're just going to bring this across. Now this is what I like. Can you see where you get these 3 lines, which means everything's lined up nicely? And so I'm going to let go there, and we put our number 1 there. Now, as I remember, the nose is also black, so I'm just going to click on a number, Alt, left click, drag, and again this is going to put this nicely in the center, makes it all look neat. Now the pupils of the eyes are also in black. Now what I want to do is get rid of these little circles, these little light highlights, because it confuses things a bit and it's going to be difficult to get our number 1 in the center there. So I'm just going to enlarge our picture again, pressing Command plus, and I'm going to press D and then highlight that little light highlight again over there, and then just delete it. Okay, and then press V to go to our pointer tool, go over to our number 1, press Alt and drag. Okay, and that's going to be too big, so over on the right hand side we're going to reduce the size of this to 11 points, and then we're just going to drag it down into the center of the eye. Then I'm going to drag across to the other pupil here. So like we did before, Alt, just drag across. Now you will have an equivalent key to Alt on your Windows keyboard, so just use the equivalent key. So there we go. So now we've got all our black areas numbered with 1. I'm going to reduce the size again. So now we're going to go to these light grey areas, and we're going to call that number 2. Now I could press, well I'll do text, or T for text, then click, left click, and then write in number 2. And then double click on there, like we did before, change the colour. Okay, and there we are. Now I'm just going to move that up slightly to that position, and then press Alt, left click, drag across. Okay, so that's that area, and then we need to do this area around the nose. So I'm going to take this 2 here, Alt, left click, drag, got there. And to make it look symmetrical, you wouldn't need to do this because, you know, whoever colours in this area with the light grey will cover everything, but it looks nice to be symmetrical, so I'm just going to Alt, drag that over to that area there. Okay. I think this just needs to be ever so slightly over. There we go, that looks about right. And then the next colour is the what I call the normal grey areas, and we're going to have that as number 3. So T for text, click over that area, number 3, double click on it, go to colour appearance, colour grey. Just going to move that slightly up there, like so, and then again using Alt, left key on the mouse, just drag across, and look at that, it lines it up all nicely for you, and you can get it in the similar position. So there we have our picture, all with the numbers in place for kids, adults to colour in. Now obviously with more complicated pictures you might have more colours, but I would advise just keeping things simple, and this is a nice simple illustration with just 3 colours. I'd probably look at illustrations with a maximum of 6, maybe 7 colours, otherwise it's going to start getting a bit too complicated. Now I've just noticed this one is a bit higher than that number 1, so I'm just going to down click. There we go, that looks a bit better. So now we need to put our guide at the bottom here for the colours. So 1 is black, so I'm actually going to Alt, left click on the mouse, just drag that down to here. I'm going to double click on that, press space, and in capitals black. Now I don't want this to be in light grey, so I'm just going to double click on it, go over to our colour swatches, black. Okay, now I'm a bit lazy, so I don't want to type this all out again. So I'm going to click Alt, click on the left key on the mouse and just drag across. Okay. Now this is going to be number 2. And that is light grey. And you'll see my English spelling of grey. And then we're going to do the same again. If you've got it highlighted like that, if you just click outside, you'll get this bounding box. So then you can press Alt key, left mouse, just drag that across. And let go. Now we're now on top of our wolf here, and we don't need this anymore. So just click over it, delete. If you have any little bits left over, just put a box around it, delete. Okay, now this is what I like about Gravit. So we've got all these here, and I want to change that to grey. So this is what I like. If you just drag a box over them and highlight them all, you can just move that, and it will move it nicely. Just get it right into the center. He says. Just going to move that. There we go. That's nicely into the center. Reduce the size slightly. Make sure everything's positioned nicely on the page. Now I'm just going to put a box around all of that, and just with the downward arrows on the keyboard, just move it down slightly. So now we've got our picture. So now we're going to need to transfer that onto our PowerPoint or Keynote. Now I produce all my interiors using Keynote. So let's go over to there. Now you can do this on PowerPoint if you like, or however you create your PDF files. So I need to just delete those, change the size to our custom slide size. Now this is in points, and we're using 8.5 times 11 inches, and in points that's 612 times 792. Okay, so we've got our page set up. Just reduce the size of that slightly, so it all fits on the screen. Go back to Gravit. Now what you can do here is go over to File, Export, and export as a PNG image. So that will save it to your computer. Go back to Keynote, and then just going to drag from the download file and put it into Keynote, and there we go, a page of colour by numbers. It's quite simple, didn't take long. Now if you were doing these, obviously you'd need a number of illustrations. It's useful to try and get all illustrations of a similar style. If you're using Vecteezy, where are you? What you can do is when you get your illustrations open, you can go over to Info, and it'll bring up the artist, and you can click on the artist's name, and then you can search through to see if they do other illustrations in a similar style, and you can use those. Now this artist has got 32 pages, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but you could find other images in a similar style, and that just makes things a bit nicer. Now if you're producing a colouring book, you could give the solutions to this in there by using the coloured vector diagram that we downloaded and putting that in the book also to show people what it ought to look like. But that's not necessary. Most books are just simple black and white pages like these. So I hope you found that useful. I find this Gravit quite a neat bit of software to use, relatively simple, very similar to Illustrators. Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, some slight differences. But this is a neat way to produce another range of books to add to your KDP arsenal, particularly if you are into activity books. Now, if you like the video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, smash that notification bell, give it a like, and until next time, I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.